Jaewon Kim stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council Station. The massive dome stretched above him like a metal sky. Thousands of alien beings filled the curved seats that rose up the walls. Their eyes, tentacles, and other strange body parts all pointed at him. He was the only human in the room. The air felt heavy. Jaewon had been Earth's ambassador for 10 years. He had seen many council meetings. But today felt different. Today felt dangerous. The chief speaker was a tall creature called Vexmar from the Vorthak Empire. Its skin looked like gray stone. Forearms moved as it spoke. Its voice echoed through the hall like thunder. "The council has reached a decision," Vexmar said. "Humanity has broken too many rules. You talk too much. You spread your ideas everywhere. You make other species think in wrong ways." Jaewon felt his heart beat faster. He knew this day might come. For months, the council had been angry with humans. They said humans were too loud, too curious, too willing to share their thoughts with everyone. "What is the council's decision?" Jaewon asked. His voice sounded small in the huge room. Vexmar's 4 eyes stared at him. Humanity is now forbidden from speaking to any council species. No more trade talks. No more diplomatic meetings. No more communication of any kind. The hall erupted in sounds. Some aliens cheered. Others made worried noises. A few sat in silence. Jaewon felt the floor seem to move under his feet. "For how long?" he managed to ask. "Until you learn to be quiet," Vexmar replied. "Until you understand your place in this galaxy." On the human ship Resilience, So-Young Park watched the council meeting on her screen. She was the ship's communication specialist. Her job was to keep Earth connected to the galaxy. Now that job had just become impossible. The signal from the council station suddenly went dead. Then all the other signals disappeared too. Trade channels, news feeds, even the basic navigation beacons that helped ships travel between stars. Everything that connected humanity to the galactic community was gone. So-Young's hands moved fast across her control panel. She tried every frequency, every backup channel, every emergency line. Nothing worked. The council had cut them off completely. "Captain Lee," she called over the ship's communication system. "We have a problem." Taehyun Lee arrived at the communication center within minutes. He was a tall man with kind eyes, but So-Young could see worry in his face. He had been captain of the Resilience for 5 years. He had never seen anything like this. "Show me," he said. So-Young pointed at her screens.
"Every channel is blocked."
"They are not just ignoring us. They have put up some kind of barrier. Our signals cannot get through to anyone." Taehyun studied the readings. He was not a technical person, but he understood what this meant. "How long until Earth finds out?" "The quantum relay should carry the news in about 6 hours, So-Young said. "But after that, even Earth will not be able to talk to us." Far below in the ship's science labs, Dr. Hyejin Choi was working on her latest project. She was trying to build a new kind of communication system, one that used quantum particles instead of radio waves. She had been working on it for 3 years, but it was not ready yet. Her assistant rushed into the lab. "Dr. Choi, you need to see the news." Hyejin looked up from her work. She had been focused for hours and had not heard about the council meeting. When her assistant explained what had happened, she felt her stomach drop. "How long do we have?" she asked. "The communication blackout starts in 2 hours, her assistant said. Hyejin looked at her unfinished project. 3 years of work, and she needed at least 6 more months to make it work. But 6 months might be too late. If humanity was cut off from the galaxy, they would be alone and vulnerable. She made a decision. "Get me every scientist on this ship. We are going to work all night." Back on the council station, Jaewon tried to leave the hall, but Vorthak guards blocked his way. Their weapons were not pointed at him, but the message was clear. He was not going anywhere. "You will stay here," Vexmar said, "as our guest. Until your species learns to behave." Jaewon understood. He was now a prisoner. The council was keeping him to make sure Earth did not try anything stupid. They thought that having a human hostage would keep Earth calm. They were wrong about that. Hours passed slowly. Jaewon was given a small room with a window that looked out at space. He could see ships from dozens of different species coming and going. But no human ships. The council had banned them from council space. He tried to send a message to Earth using his personal communicator. The device activated, but no signal went out. The council's blocking system was perfect. Nothing got through. As night fell on the station, Jaewon sat by his window and thought about what this meant. Humanity had spent 200 years trying to join the galactic community. They had learned alien languages, followed alien laws, and tried to be good neighbors. And now it was all over because the council thought humans talked too much. On Earth, the news hit like a bomb. President Kim Sira called an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. Military leaders, scientists, and diplomats gathered in the secure bunker beneath Seoul. "How long can we survive without galactic trade?" the president asked. General Park Min-ho, head of Earth's military, answered first. "Our food and energy are fine. Earth can take care of itself. But we depend on alien technology for our defense systems and space travel." Dr. Yang Bo-ram, Earth's top scientist, added, "We can reverse engineer some of their technology, but it will take years, maybe decades." The president looked around the room. "What are our options?" "We could try to fight," General Park said. "But they have thousands of species. We have one world and a few colonies. We could try to negotiate," suggested Foreign Minister Lee Jin-woo. "Send secret messages through neutral species. Or," said Dr. Yang quietly, "we could use this time to become something they never expected." Everyone looked at her. "What do you mean?" the president asked. "They think cutting off our communication will make us weak," Dr. Yang said. "But what if it makes us stronger? What if we use this silence to build something they cannot imagine?" The president was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Tell me more." On the Resilience, Captain Tae-hyun gathered his senior staff. The ship was now floating in empty space, cut off from Earth and the Council. They were alone. "What are our orders?" asked Commander Oh Dong-jin, the ship's second in command. "We have no orders," Tae-hyun said. "We cannot talk to Earth. We cannot talk to anyone. So we have to decide for ourselves what to do," So Young spoke up. "The Council thinks this will break us. They think humans cannot survive without constant communication." "Can we?" asked Dr. Hya-jin, who had joined the meeting after working all night on her project. Tae-hyun smiled for the first time since the news broke. "Let us find out. Dr. Choi, how is your quantum communication system?" "Still not working," she admitted. "But I have new ideas. Ideas that came to me when I realized we might never talk to anyone again." "Good," Tae-hyun said. "Work on it. So Young, start mapping every human ship and station in this part of space. Use visual signals only. No electronics. What are you planning?" Commander Oh asked. "The Council wants us to be quiet," Tae-hyun said. "So we will be quiet. But quiet does not mean helpless." Days passed. Human ships across the galaxy found themselves cut off from each other and from Earth. Some panicked. Others waited for orders that never came. But a few, like the crew of the Resilience, began to adapt. They developed new ways to communicate using light signals, ship movements, and even old-fashioned Morse code. It was slow and limited, but it worked. More importantly, the Council could not intercept it. Slowly, quietly, humanity began to organize itself in ways the galaxy had never seen. Without words, without formal communication, human crews started working together through pure understanding and shared purpose. The Council thought they had won. They believed that cutting off human communication would make humanity weak and scared. They were wrong. Instead, they had given humanity something far more dangerous than words. They had given them silence to work in. And in that silence, something new was being born. 6 months had passed since the Council's silence order. The galaxy had grown used to the quiet. No more human voices on the communication channels. No more human traders arguing about prices. No more human explorers asking endless questions about everything they saw. Most alien species thought the problem was solved. Humans had learned their place. They were probably sitting on their few worlds, scared and alone. The Council leaders congratulated themselves on a job well done. They were very wrong. Captain Tae-hyun Lee stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching his screens show something impossible. 37 human ships were moving in perfect formation around the Kepler Station asteroid field. They moved like dancers, each ship knowing exactly where the others would be without saying a word. "How are they doing that?" asked Commander Oh Dong-jin, staring at the display. So Young Park looked up from her communication station. She had spent 6 months learning to read the new language humans had created. Ship number 7 just changed course by 2 degrees. Ship 15 followed immediately. Ship 23 adjusted its speed. "But there are no signals," Commander O said. "No radio, no quantum channels, nothing." "Watch the engines," So Young said. Each ship fires its thrusters in a specific pattern. Long burn, short burn, pause. It is like Morse code but using engine heat instead of radio waves. Taehyun smiled. In 6 months, humanity had learned to communicate in ways no other species could detect. They used engine patterns, navigation light sequences, even the way ships moved in formation. It was slow, but it worked. More importantly, it was invisible to Council monitoring systems. Dr. Hee-Jin Choi worked day and night in her expanded laboratory. The Resilience had picked up scientists from 12 other human ships. They all worked together now, sharing ideas without speaking them aloud. Her quantum communication project was finally ready for testing, but it was nothing like what she had originally planned. The forced silence had given her new ideas. Instead of sending radio signals through quantum space, she had learned to manipulate the quantum properties of space itself. Dr. Choi, her assistant, said quietly, "The test particles are ready." Hee-Jin nodded. She activated her machine. On her screen, she could see quantum particles in a laboratory on the human colony ship New Sol, floating 12 light-years away. When she changed the spin of a particle in her lab, the matching particle on New Sol changed instantly. No signal traveled between them. No energy moved through space. The change just happened, as if the two particles were the same particle existing in two places at once. "It works," she whispered, then louder. "It works!" For the first time in 6 months, humans could talk to each other across the vast distances of space, and the Council would never know. On Earth, President Kim Si-ra read the weekly reports in her office. What she saw amazed her. Human colonies throughout the galaxy were not just surviving, they were thriving. Without alien trade, humans had been forced to become self-sufficient. They grew their own food, built their own machines, and solved their own problems. Colony populations were growing. New settlements were being built. Human technology was advancing faster than ever before. "General Park," she said to the military leader sitting across from her desk, "show me the fleet reports." General Park Min-ho activated a holographic display. It showed the positions of human ships throughout known space. "We have been building, Madam President. The Council banned us from their space, but they did not ban us from empty space." The display zoomed in on a region between the Vorthak Empire and the Quillan hegemony. Dozens of human construction ships worked around a massive space station. "What is that?" the President asked. "We call it Haven Station," General Park said. "It is completely self-sufficient. Solar collectors, asteroid mining, hydroponic farms, manufacturing facilities. It can support 50,000 people and build anything we need." "How many people know about it?" "Only humans," General Park smiled. "We built it using our new silent communication methods. No alien species detected the construction. As far as they know, that region of space is still empty." The President studied the display for a long time. "How many more stations like this are we building?" 17, General Park said. "And that is just the beginning." Meanwhile, So-Young Park had discovered something that changed everything. While working to decode Council communication patterns, she had found something horrible. The Council had been spying on humanity for decades. Every diplomatic message Earth had ever sent was in their databases. Every trade negotiation, every military report, every private conversation between human officials. The Council had been recording it all. "Captain," she said to Taehyun, her voice shaking with anger, "look at this." She showed him the data she had intercepted. Years of human communications, all translated and analyzed by Council intelligence services. Battle plans, defense strategies, economic reports, even personal messages between human families. "They knew everything about us," So-Young said. "Every move we made they saw coming because they read our messages first." Taehyun felt rage building in his chest. "How long has this been going on?" "Since we first made contact with the Council." 50 years of spying." So-Young's hands clenched into fists. "They never trusted us. They never intended to treat us as equals. We were just specimens to study. Does Earth know about this?" "I sent the data through Dr. Choi's quantum system," So-Young said. "President Kim should have it by now." She was right. On Earth, President Kim Si-ra was reading the same files with growing fury. The Council had not just cut off human communication. They had been violating it for half a century. "Get me Dr. Yang," she ordered her aide. Dr. Yang Boram arrived within minutes. The President showed her the intercepted data. "What do you make of this?" Dr. Yang studied the files. Her face grew pale, then angry, then thoughtful. This explains many things. Why our diplomatic efforts always failed. Why our trade deals were always worse than expected. Why the Council always seemed to know our strategies before we used them. What do we do about it? Dr. Yang was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled in a way that made the President nervous. We use it against them. How? They have been studying us for 50 years, Dr. Yang said. They think they know everything about how humans think, how humans react, what humans are capable of. But their data is 6 months old. They have no idea what we have become since the silence began. The President understood. They are planning their next move based on old information. Exactly. They expect us to either surrender or attack directly. They have no idea we have learned to work without words. They have no idea about our new settlements, our new technology, our new ways of thinking. What do you recommend? Dr. Yang's smile grew wider. We let them keep thinking they know us, right up until we show them how wrong they are. Back on the Resilience, Dr. Hai-Jin was making final adjustments to her quantum communication network. In the past month, she had connected 47 human ships and colonies. They could all talk to each other instantly across any distance without sending any detectable signal. But Hai-Jin had discovered something else. Her quantum manipulation could do more than just communication. It could affect matter and energy in ways that should have been impossible. She had accidentally discovered how to move objects by changing their quantum properties. Small objects at first, then larger ones. Yesterday, she had successfully moved an entire asteroid from one orbit to another without touching it. Dr. Choi, her assistant said, Captain Lee wants to see you on the bridge. Ye-Jin found Tae-hyun staring at a display showing the local star system. What can you tell me about stars? He asked. They are big balls of nuclear fire, Ye-Jin said. Why? Can your quantum manipulation affect them? Ye-Jin thought about it. Theoretically, yes. Stars are just matter and energy like everything else. But the scale would be enormous. Why do you ask? Tae-hyun pointed at the star on his display. Because I think it is time to send the Council a message they will never forget. A message that needs no words. Across human space, similar conversations were happening. Human commanders, scientists, and leaders were all reaching the same conclusion. The time for hiding was almost over. They had spent 6 months learning to work in silence. They had built new technology, new settlements, new ways of living. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before. Now it was time to show the Council what humanity had become. The plan that emerged was simple in concept, but stunning in scope. Every human ship, every human colony, every human settlement would act at exactly the same moment. They would demonstrate capabilities the Council thought were impossible, but they would do it all without saying a word. The silence that was meant to break humanity had instead transformed them into something far more dangerous than the Council could imagine. They had become a species that no longer needed to explain themselves. Soon, the galaxy would understand what that meant. Dr. Hai-Jin Choi stood before the most complex machine ever built by human hands. The quantum manipulator filled an entire deck of the Resilience. Cables and conduits ran like metal veins through the walls. Energy readings flickered. Across dozens of screens. Final systems check, she called to her team. Quantum field generators online, reported Dr. Park from the control station. Stellar positioning satellites deployed, added Dr. Wu from the navigation console. All human ships confirm ready status, said So-young. Park from her communication station. Hai-Jin took a deep breath. What they were about to do had never been attempted before. They were going to send a message to the galaxy without using a single word. A message written in the language of stars themselves. Captain Lee, she said into her headset. We are ready. 3 decks up, Captain Tae-hyun Lee stood on the bridge watching displays that showed the entire galaxy. Every human ship, every human colony, every human settlement was connected through He-Jin's quantum network. For the first time in 6 months, all of humanity could act as one. Dr. Choi reports ready, he announced to his bridge crew. Commander O, signal status. All human vessels report ready, Commander O Dong-jin replied. 47 ships, 12 colonies, 6 hidden stations. Everyone is in position. So-young, any council activity? So-young Park checked her screens. The council still thought humanity was broken and scattered. Their ships moved in normal patterns. Their communications were casual. They had no idea what was coming. Council forces are completely unprepared, she reported. They are not even watching us closely anymore. Taehyun nodded. That was exactly what they had hoped for. All stations, this is Captain Lee. Operation Starlight begins in 60 seconds. The countdown began. On dozens of human ships throughout the galaxy, crews prepared for their roles in the greatest demonstration in galactic history. Dr. Hye-jin's quantum manipulator hummed with power. Through her network, she was connected to similar machines on every major human vessel. Together, they could reach across space and touch the fundamental forces that held the universe together. 30 seconds. Taehyun announced. On the council station where Ambassador Jaewon Kim was still held prisoner, the daily routine continued normally. Council members debated trade policies and territorial disputes. The Vorthak guards were relaxed. The human problem had been solved months ago. Jaewon sat in his small room watching space through his window. He looked calm, but his heart was racing. He had been receiving messages through the quantum network for weeks. He knew what was about to happen. 10 seconds. Taehyun's voice echoed across human space. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Execute. Light blazed across the galaxy. On every world where the Council held power, their sensors suddenly detected massive energy readings from nearby stars. Not dangerous readings, not threatening ones, but impossible ones. Stars do not normally change their brightness in precise patterns. Stars do not usually pulse in mathematical sequences. Stars definitely do not spell out messages in their solar radiation. But that day, they did. Dr. Hye-jin's quantum manipulators reached across space and gently touched the fusion reactions inside 50 different stars. Not enough to hurt them, not enough to damage them, but enough to make them brighter for exactly 60 minutes. Each star pulsed in the same pattern. 3 long pulses, 3 short pulses, 3 long pulses. Even species that had never heard of humans recognized that signal. It was the oldest emergency code in galactic history, the universal distress call. But this distress call was different. It was not a call for help. It was a demonstration of power so vast that it left entire council fleets paralyzed with shock. On the Vorthak homeworld, emergency alarms began screaming. Their sun was pulsing like a beacon. Scientists ran through the streets in panic. How could anyone manipulate a star? What technology could reach across space and touch the heart of a solar system? The same scene played out on dozens of council worlds. The Quillan hegemony's ancient leaders emerged from their deep meditation chambers to stare at their changing sky. The crystalline collective's hive mind fell silent for the first time in 1,000 years. In council space, military commanders tried to understand what they were seeing. Scanner reports flooded in from every system. The stars themselves were sending a message, and that message was clear. Someone had technology beyond anything the council had ever imagined. But who? That question was answered when the second phase began. So-Young Park activated her part of the plan. Across the galaxy, human ships that had been hidden for months suddenly appeared on every council sensor. Not attacking, not threatening, just there. Ships emerged from asteroid fields where they had been hiding. Space stations that had been invisible suddenly became visible. Human colonies that the council thought were abandoned lit up with activity. The council discovered that humanity had not been broken by the silence. They had been building, expanding, growing stronger. Phase 3, Taehyun announced. This was Dr. Hye-jin's masterpiece. Her quantum network had been recording council communications for weeks. Every military frequency, every government channel, every private message between council leaders. Now all at once, every council communication system received the same data package. It contained detailed scans of every council military base, every secret facility, every hidden weapon. The scans were so precise they showed the serial numbers on individual equipment. The message was clear without using any words. We can see everything you have. We can reach anywhere you are. We know all your secrets, but humanity had chosen not to use this knowledge to attack. They had simply demonstrated that they had it. On the council station, Vexmar and the other leaders rushed to the emergency session chamber. The great dome filled with panicked alien voices. Representatives demanded explanations. Military advisors reported impossible readings. Scientists insisted that what they were seeing could not be real. Jaewon Kim watched through the station's viewing ports as human ships appeared around the council station itself. Not in attack formation, but close enough to make their point. Humanity could have destroyed the station at any time. They had chosen not to. How? Vexmar's voice boomed through the chamber. How are they doing this? No one had an answer. The best council scientists had studied human technology for 50 years. Everything in their files said humans were primitive, barely advanced enough for space travel, centuries behind the great council civilizations. The files were 6 months old. Speaker Vexmar called a junior Vorthak officer. We are receiving a transmission. From the humans? No, Speaker. From our own intelligence division, it is our complete files on human capabilities. Someone has accessed our most secure databases. Vexmar felt something like fear crawl up its spine. Show me. The display screens around the chamber filled with data. 50 years of spy reports on humanity. Every intercepted message, every stolen document, every piece of intelligence the Council had gathered. But at the end of the files was something new. A single image that made every being in the chamber fall silent. It was a picture of Earth's moon. But carved into its surface, visible from space, was a perfect image of a human hand. The carving was fresh, precise, and enormous. It had been cut into solid rock with surgical precision. No weapons had been detected. No ships had been seen near the moon. But somehow humanity had reached across space and carved their mark into their own world's satellite. The message needed no translation. This is what we can do. This is what we chose to show you. Imagine what we chose not to show you. Speaker, whispered the Quillen representative. If they can manipulate stars and carve moons from across the galaxy, what else can they do? Vexmar had no answer. No one did. The demonstration lasted exactly 1 hour. Then as suddenly as it had begun, it ended. The stars returned to normal. The human ships vanished back into hiding. The Council's communication systems returned to their regular functions, but the galaxy had changed forever. Every Council species now knew that humanity possessed technology beyond their understanding. Technology that could reach across space and touch anything, anywhere, at any time. Technology that made traditional concepts of defense and attack meaningless. More terrifying still was the restraint humanity had shown. They could have destroyed Council fleets, conquered Council worlds, or held the galaxy hostage. Instead, they had simply demonstrated their power and then withdrawn. In his prison room, Jaewon Kim smiled as he watched Council ships fleeing from the station. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted completely. Humanity was no longer the weak species begging for acceptance. They were the ones everyone else needed to fear. But they had made their point without firing a shot, without taking a life, without saying a word. The Council had wanted humanity to learn the power of silence. They had learned it very well indeed. The Council emergency session had been going for 6 hours. In the great dome of the station, representatives from 200 species argued, shouted, and demanded answers that no one could give. Ambassador Jaewon Kim sat in the observation gallery, no longer a prisoner but not yet free to leave. The Vorthak guards had simply forgotten about him. They were too busy trying to understand how their entire military doctrine had become useless in a single hour. Order! Order! Vexmar's voice boomed across the chamber. The Vorthak speaker's forearms waved frantically as it tried to control the chaos. We must respond to this. This demonstration. With what? Screeched the Quillen representative, its ancient voice crackling with fear. They made our suns dance like lights on a festival tree. How do we fight stars themselves? We don't know that they can actually fight, argued a crystalline delegate, its glass body reflecting the chamber's lights. Perhaps this was all they can do. A single grand gesture to frighten us, Jaewon almost laughed. If only they knew. The demonstration had used less than 1% of humanity's new capabilities. Dr. Hyojin's quantum network could do far more than manipulate stars. But humanity had chosen to show restraint. The Council was about to learn why that restraint was more frightening than any threat. Speaker Vexmar called a technician from the communication center. We are detecting massive energy readings throughout the galaxy. Where? Vexmar demanded. Everywhere, Speaker. Every Council world, every military base, every space station. The readings are identical to what we detected during the human demonstration. The chamber fell silent. Then panic erupted again, worse than before. Are they attacking? Someone screamed. Should we evacuate? Where can we run if they can reach anywhere? Jaewon watched the chaos with satisfaction. This was the second phase. Humanity was about to demonstrate something far more subtle and terrifying than star manipulation. Across the galaxy, Council military commanders stared at their screens in horror. Every weapon system under their command was showing the same status. Offline, not destroyed. Not damaged, simply turned off. On the Vorthak homeworld, Admiral Krental stood in the Planetary Defense Center watching his displays show impossible readings. "Status report," he barked. "Sir?" His aide replied, voice shaking. "Every weapon on the planet has been deactivated. Orbital cannons, surface missiles, even personal sidearms. Nothing will fire. How is that possible?" "Unknown, sir. The weapons are physically intact. All systems show green. They just won't work." The same report came from every council world. Hundreds of species, thousands of worlds, millions of weapons, all deactivated simultaneously by an invisible force that touched nothing, but changed everything. In the council chamber, the reports flooded in. Each one confirmed the impossible truth. Humanity had just disarmed the entire galaxy without firing a shot. "They could have killed us all," whispered the ethereal representative, its gaseous form flickering with distress. "Instead, they just took away our ability to kill each other." That was exactly the point, J1 thought. Humanity was not interested in conquest. They were demonstrating something far more sophisticated: complete control. But the demonstration was not over. Phase 3 began when every screen in council space suddenly displayed the same image. It was a star map showing the current location of every council fleet, every hidden base, every secret weapon project. The map was more detailed than anything in the council's own files. Beneath the map appeared a simple message in every council language: "We see you." Then the map zoomed in, showing individual ships. The name of each vessel appeared, along with its crew complement, cargo manifest, and current orders. Even the most classified military operations were laid bare. "They know everything," Vexmar said quietly. "How long have they been watching us?" The answer came immediately. A new display showed a timeline stretching back 6 months. It documented every council meeting, every secret decision, every private conversation between leaders. Humanity had been recording everything since the silence began, but instead of using this information to blackmail or threaten, they simply showed that they had it. Another demonstration of restraint that was more terrifying than any weapon. On the human flagship Resilience, Captain Tae-hyun Lee watched the council's response through Dr. Hyejin's surveillance network. The alien leaders were paralyzed with fear and confusion. Their military advisors were suggesting everything from surrender to desperate attacks. "Phase 4, he announced. This was So Young Park's contribution to the plan. Across the galaxy, every council communication system received a data package containing the complete technical specifications for the weapons humanity could have used. Planetary crackers that could split worlds in half, star killers that could make suns go nova, reality bombs that could erase entire star systems from existence. The plans were detailed, functional, and absolutely terrifying. But at the end of each file was the same note: "We chose not to build these." The message was clear. Humanity possessed knowledge that could destroy the galaxy. They had chosen not to use it, but they wanted the council to know it existed. "By the ancient codes," breathed the Quillen representative as it read the technical data, "these weapons could end all life in the galaxy. But they didn't build them," pointed out the crystalline delegate. "Why show us weapons they don't have?" Jaewon knew the answer to that question. It was the most subtle and brilliant part of the plan. Humanity was teaching the council about the difference between capability and intention. The final phase began when human ships appeared around every major council world. Not in attack formation, but in perfect defensive positions. Positioned to protect the worlds, not threaten them. On each ship, a single message broadcasted on all frequencies: "Under human protection." The galaxy suddenly understood. Humanity had not demonstrated their power to conquer or destroy. They had demonstrated it to become the ultimate guardians. Every council world was now under the protection of a species that could reach anywhere, see anything, and stop any threat, whether the council wanted that protection or not. In the emergency chamber, Vexmar stared at the reports flooding in. Human ships protecting Vorthak colonies, human sensors monitoring Quillen's space lanes, human quantum manipulators standing ready to defend worlds that had never asked for help. "What do they want?" Vexmar asked the chamber. The answer came from an unexpected source. Ambassador Jae-won Kim stood up in the observation gallery and spoke for the first time in 6 months. "Nothing," he said simply. Every eye, tentacle, and sensor in the chamber turned toward him. "They want nothing from you," Jae-won continued. "No apologies, no reparations, no acknowledgement of wrongdoing. They want you to simply exist under their protection and think about what that means." "Protection from what?" demanded the Quillen representative. "From yourselves," Jae-won replied. "From your wars, your conflicts, your endless cycle of violence and domination. Humanity has evolved beyond the need to rule others, but they will not allow others to rule through fear and oppression." The chamber was silent. The implications were staggering. Humanity had appointed themselves as the galaxy's guardians without asking permission. They had the power to enforce peace whether anyone wanted it or not. "And if we refuse this, protection?" Vexmar asked. Jae-won smiled. "Then you continue exactly as you are. But now you know that humanity is watching, always watching, ready to act if you go too far." "That's tyranny," accused the crystalline delegate. "No," Jae-won said. "Tyranny requires oppression. Humanity oppresses no one. They simply exist as a force that cannot be conquered, bribed, or threatened. A species that has grown beyond the need for traditional power but will use their abilities to prevent others from abusing theirs." The truth settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. The galaxy had not been conquered. It had been transcended. Humanity had evolved into something that made traditional concepts of power meaningless. They ruled through the simple fact that they could do anything, and everyone knew it, as if summoned by his thoughts. A new message appeared on every screen in the chamber. It was from Earth, transmitted through the quantum network that no one could intercept or block. "The demonstration is complete. Normal operations may resume." Humanity returns to silence. Just like that, it was over. The human ships vanished. The quantum signatures disappeared. The galaxy returned to its regular patterns, but everything had changed. Every species now lived with the knowledge that humanity was out there, watching, capable of reshaping reality itself with tools beyond imagination, and choosing not to use them. The Council had wanted to teach humanity about power through silence. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy about the ultimate form of power, the kind that never needs to be used because everyone knows it exists. 3 years had passed since the demonstration. The galaxy had learned to live with a new reality, humanity's silence. But this silence was not the absence of voice the Council had intended to create. It was the presence of something so powerful that words became unnecessary. Ambassador Jae-won Kim walked through the corridors of the Council station as a free man. The Vorthak guards nodded respectfully as he passed. Representatives from dozens of species stepped aside to let him through. He was no longer a prisoner or even a simple diplomat. He was humanity's voice in a galaxy that had learned to listen without being spoken to. The great dome of the Council chamber looked different now. Where once alien species had argued and schemed for advantage, now they worked together with quiet efficiency. Disputes that had raged for centuries were resolved quickly and fairly, not because anyone forced them to cooperate, but because they all knew someone was watching who could enforce any decision they made. "Ambassador Kim," called Speaker Vexmar as Jae-won entered the chamber. The Vorthak's tone was respectful, almost humble. "Do you have any communications from Earth regarding the Centauri mining dispute?" Jae-won smiled. "Humanity has no opinion on the Centauri mining dispute." "Of course," Vexmar replied quickly. "We simply wanted to ensure our resolution would not conflict with human interests. As long as both sides are treated fairly and no one is harmed, humanity has no concerns," Jae-won said. The Quillen and Crystalline representatives who had been arguing over mining rights immediately began working on a fair compromise. No one wanted to risk being seen as unfair when humanity might be watching, and humanity was always watching. On the flagship Resilience, Captain Taehyun Lee reviewed the daily reports from across human space. What he saw would have amazed anyone from the old days. Human colonies were thriving like never before. Without the constant political pressures from Council space, humans had been free to develop their own culture, their own technology, their own way of life. The hidden stations had grown into massive cities floating in the void between stars. Asteroid mining operations provided unlimited resources. Stellar engineering projects that would have been impossible before were now routine. But most importantly, humanity had learned to live without needing to explain themselves to anyone. "Captain," called So Young Park from her communication station, "we are receiving another request from the hegemony. They want to open trade negotiations. How many is that this month?" Taehyun asked. 17 different species, So Young replied, all requesting trade agreements, defensive pacts, or technology sharing arrangements. Taehyun nodded. It was the same every month. Council species that had once dismissed humanity as primitive now desperately wanted human friendship. They offered everything they had in exchange for access to human technology. "Standard response?" So Young asked. "Standard response," Taehyun confirmed. So Young activated the automated message system. The reply that went out was always the same. "Humanity appreciates your interest but currently has no trade requirements. If this changes, we will contact you." It was polite, professional, and completely non-committal. Humanity didn't need anything the Council species could offer. They had learned to be completely self-sufficient. Dr. Hee-Jin Choi had expanded her laboratory again. The quantum manipulation network now connected every human settlement in the galaxy. Instant communication across any distance. Instant transportation of people and materials. Instant access to any information humanity needed. But her greatest achievement was not technological. It was philosophical. Humanity had learned to exist without needing external validation. They built what they wanted to build, explored what they wanted to explore, and lived how they wanted to live. The opinion of other species had become irrelevant. "Dr. Choi," her assistant called. "The deep space sensors are detecting another Council exploration fleet heading toward the outer rim." Hee-Jin looked at the display. A mixed fleet of Vorthak and Quillen ships was moving toward a region where humanity had been quietly building their largest construction project yet. "Are they a threat to the project?" she asked. "No, Doctor. They are just exploring. But they will discover our work within the week." Hee-Jin considered this. The project was a ring of stellar collectors around an entire star system. It would provide unlimited energy for human expansion. In the old days, discovering such a project would have caused panic among Council species. They would have demanded explanations, restrictions, oversight. Let them discover it, she decided. They will learn about it eventually anyway. The Council fleet did discover humanity's stellar ring. Their scanners detected the massive structure wrapped around an entire star system like a glowing necklace. The energy output readings were beyond anything in their databases. The fleet commander, a Vorthak admiral named Toksar, stared at his displays in amazement. The structure was clearly human, but its scale was impossible. It surrounded a star completely, capturing and redirecting its entire energy output. "Communications," he ordered. "Send a message to Council headquarters. Report the discovery." "What should we tell them, Admiral?" his communication officer asked. Toksar thought about it. What could he tell them? That humanity had built something that made their greatest engineering projects look like children's toys? That humans now had access to the complete power output of an entire star? "Tell them," he said finally, "that humans continue to be humans." On Earth, President Kim Si-ra read the monthly reports with satisfaction. The planet was more peaceful and prosperous than it had ever been. Without external pressures and demands, human society had focused on growth, exploration, and achievement. Crime rates were at historic lows. Scientific advancement was accelerating. Art, literature, and culture were experiencing a renaissance. People were happy in ways they had never been when humanity was constantly trying to please the Council. "Madam President," her aide announced, "you have a visitor." Dr. Yang Boram entered the office carrying a thick folder of documents. "The analysis you requested," she said, placing the folder on the President's desk. President Kim opened the folder. Inside were detailed reports on every Council species, their military capabilities, economic status, political stability, and social development, all gathered through humanity's invisible observation network. "Summary?" the President asked. "They are stagnating," Dr. Yang said simply. "Without humanity to push against, to compete with, to learn from, they are falling behind. Their technology is advancing slowly. Their societies are becoming rigid. They are becoming exactly what they accused us of preventing them from being." President Kim understood. The Council had silenced humanity to stop human ideas from spreading. But ideas were not something that could be contained. By cutting themselves off from human innovation, the Council species had cut themselves off from progress itself. Recommendations? Continue exactly as we are, Dr. Yang said. Let them watch us advance. Let them see what they gave up when they chose fear over cooperation. Eventually they will understand. And if they don't, Dr. Yang smiled, then they will become irrelevant, and humanity will inherit the galaxy by default. Ambassador Jae-won Kim stood at the viewing port of his quarters, looking out at the stars. 3 years ago, he had been a prisoner begging for his species' right to exist in galactic society. Now he was the representative of the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen. A force that ruled through the simple fact that it didn't need to rule. His communication panel chimed. A message from Earth, transmitted through the quantum network that connected all human space. Ambassador, read the message from President Kim. The Council has requested another formal meeting. They want to discuss normalization of relations. How should we respond? Jae-won thought about it for a long moment. Then he composed his reply. Tell them we will consider it. When we are ready, we will let them know. It was the same answer humanity had been giving for 3 years. Not yes, not no, just, we will think about it. The message was clear. Humanity no longer operated on anyone else's schedule. They would engage with the galaxy when and how they chose, not before. In the depths of space, human ships continued their work. Building, exploring, advancing. They created wonders that reshaped entire star systems. They solved problems that had puzzled scientists for generations. They lived lives of purpose and achievement that made their ancestors' dreams seem small. And they did it all in silence. The Council had taught humanity that sometimes the most powerful statement was saying nothing at all. That true strength came not from shouting the loudest, but from being so capable that your whisper carried more weight than anyone else's scream. Humanity had learned that lesson well. The galaxy waited for them to speak again. But humanity was no longer interested in speaking to those who had proven they were not ready to listen. They had found something better than words. They had found themselves. And in the quiet spaces between the stars, they built an empire not of conquest or domination, but of pure possibility. An empire that existed simply because no one could imagine how to stop it. The Council had pushed humanity too far. Now they were wordless, and the galaxy would never be the same.